Actually, I'm going to start off with searching intersections. I'm going to present this overly simple slideshow that was made a few years ago, quite a few. Key things when searching, always see the intersection in your target area. That's as far out as you can see. As you approach, we'll talk about this in great detail a little bit later, scanning 45 degrees. Get an early idea of what other cars may be approaching the intersection and what might be your potential line of sight path of travel changes. When we go up and we search, we're going to look left, look front, look right, based on as the line of sight permits. So in some situations, a simple left, front, right works really well. In other circumstances, it might be that the longest line of sight would be to our right, to our left, and then to the front. Typically, we're going to be looking to the front anyway, but again, we'll start the search pattern longest to shortest. And that's just reinvents the wheel for you. Sorry about that. One of the key things I do want to talk about is do not put the car in motion till you're sure it's clear in all directions. You are looking at your path of travel and then you put the car in motion. In other words, you know it's totally clear. You're looking where you're going. You have an open path of travel. There's no blockages whatsoever. And then proceed. Don't start moving until you've completed that search and you're sure that it is absolutely clear. So here we can see an older picture approaching Route 15, looking to our target area. There is a stop sign. There is an intersection. Our longest line of sight is going to be to our right in this case, up the hill. And you may not be able to see in the picture here, but if you look beyond the store and the store parking lot, there's another telephone pole. That second pole is 7 seconds away. You need a 7-second gap to be sure that you have enough space to pull into the intersection, get up to speed before there's any traffic coming in behind you or traffic that might be approaching in the opposing direction that you're going into. Be sure you get the clear. Looking to the left, in this case, it's our next longest, and it's where probably the greatest amount of risks are that we can't see traffic coming over the bridge. So you want to be prepared for this. This also happens to be the direction we're going to be turning in. So be sure you get all the clears. Look to the front. Depending upon the year or the time of the year, you may have traffic coming out of Joe's Snack Bar. To the right, there's an apartment building complex, or there might be traffic pulling out of there. Look for pedestrians crossing. Once you're sure you've got all of the gaps, and be sure, look to where you want to go, then move your foot to the accelerator and put the car in motion. When we're approaching an intersection, we want to scan 45 degrees. Since these pictures were taken, this has been redesigned, and I will point out why it was redesigned here. So if we look at the top of the hill crest, we can see an approaching vehicle. We are going to continue straight, but notice our line of sight probably to the left is a little bit better than to the front. And if we look, the building is a line of sight blockage that prevents us from seeing traffic that's coming from our right. We do have the driveway that's leading up slightly to our left, and we need to be aware of that. When we get up closer, again, at this point, please note, there's no stop sign here. Currently today there is, and if you look, the approaching vehicle is a bus. It's signaling to turn left. You can see where the turn signal light is on. But if you look to the left, we get a little bit better picture. So we scan 45 degrees, and that when this picture was taken, that lane was two-way traffic. It's currently one-way. Doesn't mean that people won't come out of a one-way street the wrong way. It does happen. So scan the left, scan the front, and 45 degrees, and you can just barely see the corner of the building here, which is why they redesigned this to change the stop signs and the flow of the traffic to make it a little bit safer. There are quite a few crashes that were occurring here until they made these changes. But here, we're not stopping. So you're scanning 45 degrees to left, to the right, and then we're continuing to look for any path of travel changes as we enter the intersection. So to summarize, look in the direction of the longest line of sight first, then the next longest, then the shortest. Be sure you have all the clears. Look to where you are going before you move the car, not while you're swiveling your head, and then put the car in motion. So approaching intersections, this is full of information. I'm not going to skip through a lot of these slides, but it's too easy. The majority of crashes happen at intersections, and 30% of those happen on a regular basis. That's why we consider a high-risk location. The crashes can occur from any of the directions, so every intersection is a zone change. Understand it's both line of sight, path of travel. Primarily, it's going to be a path of travel because we may not be able to enter into that space. The space is not open for us. So we should prepare for that. Looking into the target area. Find the intersection in your target area. It's a zone change. Use the 15-second range to solve and control any line of sight path of travel problems caused by traffic controls, vehicles, and other environmental factors. And then you want to have control 4 seconds away. We're also going to talk about the point of no return. Okay, make sure that as you're approaching, your solution is going to work, particularly with traffic lights that may be changing. Scan 45 degrees and 90 degrees to help solve and control for problems. Get the best speed, lane position, and communication while approaching. These are just a series of the 4-second danger zone situations that you might encounter, not necessarily all related to an intersection. When you're approaching an intersection, see the intersection. What's the shape of it? What's controlling it? Are there traffic controls for pedestrians, for traffic? Is there approaching traffic? Are there pedestrians that might be crossing? Find and solve line of sight blockages, traffic and other environmental factors. Search the rear zone before braking. Monitor the rear zone while you're stopped. Search the left, front, right zones for traffic approaching your intended path of travel. Before making a right or left turn, search for an open path to enter. I'm going to pick on this one particularly because in high volume traffic situations, either early morning or late night when the traffic's backing up at intersections, you don't want to pull out into an intersection and find out that you can't pull into the lane or the roadway that you want to, and you're stuck in the middle of the intersection, blocking other traffic as the light changes, and therefore causing gridlock and already frustrating people who are already anxious to either get home or to get to work. Okay? When you're going straight, search your intended path of travel and search all corners for pedestrians. Okay? Very simply, intersections place where two or more roadways come together. They may have different shapes. They may be controlled. I'm going to pick on our famous 5 corners in Essex. But you need to look at those and solve for those problems and time it so that you can arrive to an open zone. So here's some examples of warning signs of different types of intersections. Some of them more simple than others. Okay, always know that you're approaching an intersection. What are some of the clues? Well, lane markings. Specifically, when you're approaching, you may see where the center line ends and there's a little gap and then proceeds up ahead. That's a clue that there's an intersection there. Look for arrows and other lane markings, stop lines, crosswalks, street signs, power lines crossing perpendicular 90 degrees to your roadway. Other street signs, be cautious of railroad crossing signs. That's a particularly high-risk intersection that we need to talk a little bit more about later on. Looking for signs referring to bike or pedestrian crossings. School zones, all of those are important. Intersection may be controlled or uncontrolled. Uncontrolled intersections have no lights or signs. The rules of the road assign yielding responsibilities. Remember, yielding when you're approaching an intersection, the car that arrives first is given the right of way. When 2 cars arrive at the same time, the car on the left gives the right of way. This is important and critical in the fact that if you're the car on the right, it's not that you have the right of way, that it should be given to you. And some people don't judge that very well, or some people are just aggressive. So you need to wait for them to give it to you before you proceed ahead. It's not that you are absolutely given the right of way. It has to actually be given to you. Okay, some of these are controlled. The ones with the traffic lights or stop signs are. I'm not going to go through all of them and take time. Normally in a classroom setting, we discuss those. So intersections, path to travel blockages, changing lights, stop signs, yield signs. Do not enter. Please be careful of that sign. Stopped or slow moving vehicles. Pedestrians that either are crossing or could be crossing, you need to yield to them irregardless. And sometimes just the shape of the intersection makes it more difficult, or you have to enter more slowly in order to navigate it. Solve POT problems. Choose the best speed and or lane position options. I'm going to go into this a little bit more, but the idea, even this may be like less than 15 seconds away, but see the intersection in your target area? Check the rear zone. Notice that it is sort of closed. I would call it unstable. And at this point, you may not be able to see it, but there is the traffic light does have the red light. Is traffic slowing down or stopping there? So at this point, check the rear zone, tap the brakes, alert to the car behind you that you are going to start to reduce speed, and I would do so gradually in lane position 1. We're not going to be turning. We're in the center lane, and we're just approaching a closed zone. We'll talk about this in another slideshow, but the goal here is to relieve stress and to reduce the risk to you. Approach in a fashion so that you're gently reducing speed, so that when you get to the closed zone, the red traffic light, that it has changed to green, traffic's beginning to move, and you can continue along with the flow of traffic. Definitely is a much better way to approach them rather than go up quickly, wait, and be sitting and having to worry about what's happening behind you. Communication would be to tap the brake lights. And then as we approach, we want to look to see what might be blocking our ability to see oncoming traffic, or the traffic lights, buildings, fences, trees, bushes, and elevated terrain, signs and billboards, which we don't have many of in Vermont anymore, vehicles parked near the intersection, stopped vehicles in the front, left, or right zones, slow-moving vehicles, So what this little poem is trying to do is to get you to look underneath vehicles and for the possibility of seeing pedestrians' feet or something underneath it that might step out in front of you. I can tell you that there's been quite a few times when looking for that has made a difference in preventing hitting somebody who is about to step out from around a parked car. And here we are approaching an intersection. I know the graphics aren't great, but here's a car moving to lane position 2. The reason why they're moving to lane position 2, the red car, is so they can get a better look around the line of sight blockage caused by the building here. They are covering the brake. Notice they don't have a traffic control device here, the stop sign. They have no traffic control devices. For them, it's uncontrolled, but you need to scan 45 degrees. Since the line of sight to the left is better, we're going to scan 45 degrees. And the reason why it's 45 degrees is you have the same distance from here where you enter the intersection to where this car would enter the intersection, which gives you the maximum ability to see and the maximum ability to control your speed before entering that intersection. Coming up too close to that, you don't have a lot of time to react. Being further back, you don't get a great view. You still have to take that look at 45 degrees. So that's why we recommend a 45-degree scan. We would also do the same thing as we get a little bit closer so we can look around the corner of the building. Okay, if you are the car coming into the lane beside the truck, it's a line of sight blockage. You might not see pedestrians or oncoming traffic or cross traffic. When you're stopped, search 90 degrees, longest to shortest. Say, in this instance, we'll presume that our longest line of sight might be to the front. I'll go back there a little bit. Might be to the front, the left, and the right. When you've got all clears, then continue ahead. To be a little bit more precise, there's 9 locations that you need to check. As you're approaching the intersection, see it in your target area, look at it for the shape, look for potential line of sight path of travel changes. Is it controlled? How is it controlled? Is it stop sign, traffic light, yield sign? Check the rear immediately. And as you come closer, you do the 45-degree scan. And at that 45-degree scan, I'm just going to point out that the areas shaded numbered 3, 4, and 5 are all where potential traffic would be entering the intersection from. So you're looking for traffic approaching and entering the intersection that might enter at the same time that you do. Very critical, because some people may not be slowing down. They may be running through that intersection. People take those type of chances. So you're doing that on your 45-degree scan, but you're also going to do that from your 90-degree scan after you make the complete stop, as we're looking here in this diagram. So at this point we're stopped, we're doing a 90-degree search, and we're going to look 3, 4, and 5 for oncoming traffic. And then 6, 7, and 8 are all familiar in the sense that those are a potential path of travel changes. We're going to choose one of those. We're not going to take them all at the same time, obviously, but you're going to look into that path to see that it's open and you have no blockages. Particularly if you're going straight, you want to be sure there's no one turning left. If you are turning left, you need to be sure that there's no traffic coming in here, because you do have to yield to them. So there's 6, 7, 8, and 9. Be looking for pedestrians on all 4 corners. And search deep, 90 degrees, left, front, right, and as I shared with you earlier, longest to shortest line of sight is the way